Welcome back to the Wise Mindset Guy podcast. I'm your host, Nat Plastino, and I thank you once again for tuning into my show. So who do you want to be in life? Who are you exactly? What do you want to be? How do you want to define yourself? How do you want to create your identity in life? Now, when I'm saying identity, I don't mean in terms of gender. I know that it's a hot topic now. I'm not going in more that direction. I'm going more in the direction of identity in general. And, when we go into the New Year's resolutions, we try to define ourselves in a certain way. Maybe want to lose weight. Maybe want to have a new career. Maybe find a new relationship. Those kind of resolutions, redefine who we are as human beings. And then sometimes sticking to those new goals, in life is quite a challenge. We all identify ourselves in different ways. Some people identify themselves as being very shy and reserved, while others feel that they are the life of the party. Some people identify as being good with their hands in their jobs, right? Whereas others can be more brilliant behind the computer. This really comes down to how we feel about our core beliefs and how those beliefs, make us think, deal with our emotions, interact with other people. Our beliefs, kind of give us what we feel certain of and will help us dictate our behaviors. These behaviors, can be positive, they can also be negative, but they have a direct impact on how we function as human beings. Example, as you can either believe you are what it takes to be an amazing, doctor, lawyer, engineer, or you may think you don't have those kind of intelligence for that, right? These are kind of limitations. These limitations make expanding our identity very difficult. I remember a story I was once heard. It's a long time ago. It's Oprah Winfrey was telling a story about when she was younger. She was weighing herself on a scale, trying to see her weight. And her dad walked in the room and saw and said, well, what are you doing? Why are you bothering with that kind of stuff? It's not necessary. And he said that basically, everyone in your family is big. Your aunt, your mom, they're all big, and that's going to be your destiny. And she took that as, wow, that is who I am. That's how I'm to be defined as, And she said that it was very difficult for her to hear those words, but she took it to heart, saying that this is who I am, right? And sometimes, it's important to take a hard look at, those limitations we've built up in our minds. In order to recreate our identity, we need to get to the heart of the fear that's driving that limitation in us. Where does this fear come from? Did someone give us a sense of limitation when we were younger? Like I said before, Oprah Winfrey. A parent or teacher could have told us this. Those, our life-term goals are vastly dependent in the growth of this persona we create in our minds. Now, persona really is a Greek word which meant the mask that you would wear, when you're up on stage. During the Greek times, they used to do a lot of plays, and that was what you called. They called the persona was the mask you wore. So this persona in modern times is more like the mask we wear in our daily lives. But it can be changed at any time. It just takes the willpower to push forward. You are not defined by your personality. With a better sense of awareness, we can actually learn new skills, whether physically or emotionally, to perform things that we weren't capable of doing before. I never thought I could do, handiwork around the house. But within today's modern online world, you can just almost find any skill to learn. You can just go on YouTube and type it in and they can teach you how to do it. Does it mean I am awesome at handiwork? Well, not really. But I am way better because I put the effort to not let it define me. We also have to take a hard look at, self-labeling and how we judge ourselves, right? How we label ourselves and others, it shapes whether we grow as human beings or not. If I label another person in a negative way, then they take on that label as being true. And then we get kind of stuck in that definition of ourselves. We can, like I said before, with the overweight, you can label, if you label yourself as overweight, that person will feel that being overweight is their true self, or give excuses that it's in their family genes and it cannot be altered. Once individuals, get out of their comfort zones of where they find themselves, then a transformation can actually begin. The idea of I can't becomes I can. I can have the physical body that I desire. I can have the relationship that I always wanted. I can have the career I always wanted. Everything is possible. Another great example is how we view ourselves financially, right? I've heard these words from others. They'll say, I am poor, or I always will be poor. Once you define yourself this way, you then give an excuse to validate why that feeling exists. Like you are either poor financially because you live in a bad neighborhood, or because your family has always been moneyless, right? As soon as we understand that we control our own destiny, then we actually can recreate that false sense of identity and actually become financially sound. Think about how many times we hear of celebrities, singers, or great CEOs of companies that came from nothing financially and then rose to fame. Did it happen by accident? Sometimes, there's some luck involved, but it actually happened because of dedication to not be defined by their old self. And remember, it's also about setting standards. There's a kind of like a threshold that defines us, and sometimes we can either go above or below that standard, right? When we go below the standard, we can either accept it based on outside forces or get back to the threshold of where we want to be. We can even go below the standards, above the standards, and actually can push us further and give us a driving force to go even further. The idea is to stay consistent. This is a huge, driving force, which could bring out our best self. We can definitely be anything we desire, but it takes getting past the barriers which we have created in our core beliefs. These constraints and conditioning that goes back to our childhood can sometimes create that roadblock. Our parents and teachers may have told us that our dreams can't come true, but you don't have to allow that to set your standards. Who we are can sometimes be confusing, but in actuality, it really is a profound question that you have to ask yourself. We can recognize that we are larger than the labels that we put on ourselves. We are under no obligation to be the same person we were yesterday. Once we do that, then expanding our identity will always be challenging, but just a little easier. Thanks for joining me today on the Wise Mindset Guy podcast. Thank you very much. And if this episode does touch you in any certain way, in any sort of way, please share with a friend or colleague or a family member. And if you like the episode, please hit subscribe. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. That's all for today. Thanks for joining us. Talk later.